Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. Welcome back to the second of the Autumn Abundance September Paper Pumpkin alternative ideas. I did the first video, just got carried away. I could have gone on forever, as I said. What I'll do first off, just out the bat, so you know, I will link the part 1 video to this one, and then when this one is done I will link part 2 back to the other one. But there are just so many things you can do with this kit. It's incredible. So without further delay, let me get started and I'll show you what we're going to make in this video. So the last video I did had these cards, 3 cards made from 1 card base. So they were pretty nice. I thought, and you get 3 of each, as you may already know. So this is basically another one. And now what I've seen people do is make the ZZ fold card where you fold it in half and then you fold it back on itself. Because of course, if you fold this in half, this becomes the front and this becomes the back. So if you do a ZZ fold card, you get the benefit of the front and the back both at the same time. Then I thought, ooh, well, let me just scrimp a little, because those of you who know me, know me. I thought I would cut it in half and add them to 2 bases. So I'm actually going to cut this one in half. I'm going to make 2 ZZ fold cards. One will be the Very Vanilla and one will be Night of Navy. So without further delay, let me get started and show you how we do that. I'm going to start with actually the Night of Navy one. So what I did was I went ahead and die cut using the add-on. This is the little add-on die set that came with the last quarter to go with paper pumpkins. And this is the die. This is fabulous. This one actually came out of the spring one with the love and the daffodil. But I thought, well, it's quite similar to these shapes. So, and I've got it and it's a paper pumpkin add-on. So why not utilize it? So as we go through, you'll see there's some of the current add-on and some of the spring one, and there's a new one upcoming. So if you're interested in paper pumpkin, don't forget to add that to your stash. So without further delay, what we need to do is I took a piece of 8.5 by 5.5 regular size, scored it at 4 1/4, and that makes a standard card that we're all comfortable with that goes into an envelope. And then for the ZZ fold, you fold it in the middle, scored it 2 1/8, and then it folds back on itself. And that is the ZZ concept of it. But because I wanted to use as much of this lovely paper as I could and have them have a sort of continuity, what I'm going to do is bring in the paper cutter and I'm going to cut it on the score line and hopefully leave it behind. This is the one I'm going to use with the ivory, because ivory there's just not much color to ivory, and this has the Night of Navy in it. Well, we don't need Night of Navy to go with Night of Navy cardstock, but I wanted to try and keep as much of the paper going across as I could. So the measurements are 16, so please don't hate me, but you'll see why. So the front piece is going to be 2 1/16 wide, and then they're all going to be 5 5/16, and you'll throw your hands up in horror, but if there's just that itty bitty little smidge of color around, it really makes a difference. So we want to slice it off the top, of course, because this is the plainest part. So I'm going to line it up. Well, it's actually not 15/16, is it? It's ones, that would be 8/16, 7/16. Anyway, if you find 5.5 on the paper trimmer, the very first little skinny mini is where we're going to cut it. So it's hardly worth cutting anything off, but like I say, it will make a difference when you've got a little bit of a blue border going around. And then this one is going to be 2 1/16, because it's going to have just a 1/16 of an inch border around, and what's left I'm going to add to the edge, because we don't want there to be any gap when this closes down, and it just makes it. And then I needed a piece for the inside, and I thought, oh, but this is all Very Vanilla, and if I added basic white, you might be able to tell the difference. Well, handy dandy, there is a piece of envelope, the back. So I pulled where it was glued down off it. And this piece needs to be just 2 inches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim it so it has a straight edge. That's just really a piece of scrap. And then line this up at 2 and cut it. So now we've got some nice straight edges to work with. And this needs to be the 5.5 first skinny mini little piece down. It's not big enough. It will be big enough. I will make it be big enough. We will just trim it to there. Let me see if that makes a difference. It does, but never mind. We'll go ahead. I probably just cut too much off the other side. That's when 16ths matter. And luckily the other one is very vanilla. So what we need to do is we need to line up the 2 pieces, and we're going to stick this one to the front. So let me bring in my adhesive. And you'll see there is barely any around the edges. And then this one, this is the wider piece. So we cut the 2 1/16 off, and whatever was left of that half a sheet, that's what we're going to use. So we're going to put it again just with that sort of hardly anythingness of it. And it just means that when it closes, you get the continuity and you've just got that one little border piece. And then we'll stick our, oops, here's one I didn't make earlier, too short piece in, but never mind. It happens when you make things on the fly and you don't practice them. It seemed like a good idea at the time, but that one will just have a bit of a bigger border, and then it's got a nice area inside for writing on. So you can see how the pattern flows across the card. So let's get on and make the second one. So we take the inside pieces out. So what we need to do is we need to bring back in the paper trimmer. So again, it's 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4, scored at 2 1/8, and ZZ'd, folded back on itself. So we will trim this down. We will put it 5.5, and the skinniest little, the first little tick. And actually this one has, I can see the edge. Can you see that on the video? I'm not sure you can, but I just need to trim that off because it's got the fold. This is what happens when your blade is getting a bit dull. Oh my gosh, I'm having failure city here, but not to fear. So we will cut this at 2 1/16, so it will fit on the front, and then everything that's left will go on the outer side. So let me pop the paper trimmer away for now. So we will stick this on. It's quite funny. It's one of those things, oh, I did that on purpose just so I could show you. No, but it always makes me think of the King's Speech with Colin Firth, when he was doing the speech and the guy said, you still made a mistake, and he said, oh, I had to throw a few in so people knew it was me. So I always feel very regal when I make mistakes. So we'll pop this on the inside area of that, but because, like I said, this is the ivory, there's plenty space to write there, and then the pattern flows across. So what we need to do now, bring in the lovely, here's some I cut out earlier of the leaves, and the lovely circle. It's got this lovely, I don't know if it'll shimmer in the light for us, but it's like a rose gold bronze color. So I'm going to take the Cajun Craze. The kit comes with an ink spot, but because I have the big ink pad of the color, I'm just going to use that. So I'm going to use one of the stamps out the set, and it says thinking of you, because that's the stamp that fits so nicely into the circle. So there's a thinking of you for that one, and a thinking of you for the other one. And gosh, that's quite a strong ink pad, but there we go. What we need to do now is line this up where we want it to go and attach the leaves to the back. Well, we don't want it to be too much sticky here. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to line up the leaves where I think they would look nice if that's where they went. Just like that. So we've got the blue theme followed through and these ones, but we don't want any sticky, you know, our usual ZZ rule. So what I'm going to do is I am just going to put a nice big blob of glue. Just line those back up again quickly, just to make sure they're in the right place. And all of this side is going to stick down. So if we just put a nice bit of glue here, they will just stay put, she said confidently. And then we can, you know what, let me just put a little bit more glue further out. So wherever we put the glue, we've already seen underneath that it will stick there. And then when you open the card, it hasn't gone further. One little schmeck escaped. So that's the card made with that one. And then we can repeat the process with the lovely blue one. So this one gets a little bit more colour. It's a little bit plainer here. And then this we know will go nicely in this area. So if we spread the leaves out and then hold them down and add some dots of glue, when we pop that, when we pop that into place, we know it's going to hold everything down in place. So I am just going to pop them off to one side to dry, but that's 2 cards made out of one full card with lots of space, enough for writing inside, whether it's a short extra piece or the cardstock is just light enough in itself. Oh, I've got sticky fingers. So I'll pop those off to one side so we don't lose them and not know where to find them later. That was my trick of my other video. So when I was making the other ones the other day, I cut 3 of the cards in half and I used those 3. But these 2 I used, and I had this spare piece, and my little remark was, oh, I'll find something to do with that. Well, guess what? I've already found the something. So I've taken 2 pieces of Very Vanilla, 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. So they're just 2 regular card bases. And what I'm going to do is just take this piece and literally just cut it in half. It's not a very, we trimmed it down a little bit, so it's 4 1/8. So we just need the 2 1/16, or basically you can just cut it in half, however you're comfortable, because it doesn't really matter. One card, it will be different than the other anyway, and you'll probably be sending them to different people. So I don't think your friends are going to get together and compare their cards. So we just need the piece like this. So it was already cut layered, but just so you know, it's 5 3/8, and now it's 2 1/16. So you can either leave the pattern off to one side, or you can leave the pattern on the wooden side. And then I've done the same deal really. So we will use the Cajun Craze again and bring in the stamp that says thinking of you. It is a heavy duty ink pad. Thinking of you. Just need to give that a little second to dry. And then what we want to do is stick the leaves behind. I sometimes think when I'm making cards, I really try my best to sort of outshine myself. And then I think it's not always necessary to do that. You can make a card that's fairly simple and it's still going to look really lovely. So again, we're just going to stick a red one and a yellow one to come out into the vanilla and stick, whoops, that's upside down, and stick a Cajun craze here. But this time what I'm going to do, because it's flat and there's no ZZ-ness to it, I am just going to put some adhesive across the back. I'll do both of them at the same time actually, because they'll end up being fairly similar. So we'll stick a red leaf and a yellow leaf. Oh, it's like that tongue twister, isn't it? Red leather, yellow leather. And we'll stick the Cajun craze to peek out of there. And then we'll do the same with the other one. Cajun craze can, as long as a little piece of it makes it to the edge of the sticky, we're good, because these ones I want to stick on with dimensionals. So now that we've got everything stuck to the back, and it doesn't matter, we can put the dimensionals on. And then what I did was I looked through my stash and I found a little roll of previous paper pumpkin. Actually, it had been, just need to put one there to support it, it had been some lovely twine. So I pre-made 2 little bows, because if you think you're watching me struggle now making a bow, you would just be like, all right, I'm gonna stop this now and I'll wake up tomorrow and have another look at that one. So we'll do the wood grain, facing out, and peel off the backings. Pop that on the card, and even though they're quite simple, I think they're very nice and effective. They've got the benefit, of course, of having that lovely splash of the shininess on them. But there you have it. And then I'm going to use glue dots, and one of the nice things about glue dots is they're rollable. You can make them fit wherever you would like them to go. So we'll just take one, pop it to the bottom of here, and when we peel the backing off, if it's too wide, you can just scrunch it in a little bit and then pop the bow on. So we do the same again. We can just take the dot and put it right at the bottom and peel it off. And if you feel there's too much for the size of whatever it is you're sticking it to, you can just scrunch the edges in gently, and then it will stick your bow or your cord or whatever's really thin will stick on. So there's another 2 made from that one piece of back of the card, which sort of became designer series paper, I guess you could call it. So I'll pop that over there too. And then last but not least, this one was so fun. I didn't even make it. So lots of ingredients. I cut the back off this to make these 2 cards. And what I did was I fussy cut all the pieces out. But this was the front, and it looks like this, the card in its entirety, and there's a seam and you fold it and you put pieces behind, but didn't want to do that. So I had made 3 banners for these cards, so I still out of the back of an envelope, so I still had this piece, and I thought, oh, I can stick that behind there. So literally just going to take my snips and cut that off. It doesn't have to be square or even or anything, as long as it's big enough to not be seen too far down that hole. And then what I thought I would do was try and see if we could add some colour in. So here's my lovely gash stash, and this is using this lovely, I don't really know what it is, like twigginess out of the stamps that came in the kit. So I'm going to do a one in Poppy Parade, but I didn't want it full strength, so I just stamped it gently and give that a quick wash. Then I've got the wild wheat, which actually coordinates with the cardstock. This is wild wheat, again 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. So that's just going to come down from the top. And then last but not least, I'm going to do a Cajun Craze. But the Cajun Craze, as we know, is a bit of a heavy duty ink pad. So I will just put a little piece of scratch paper under that so I don't go astray. Stamp that off one time and put it there. So that's what will go in the middle of the circle. So let's see how successful we've been. Oh yeah, that looks really good actually. So what, well, should we do it coming down? It's one of those, oh, I don't know which way looks the best. I mean, you could either do it on the, anyway, less worrying about such things. Then what I thought I would do was bring in some of these lovely little shapes that we got. And I was going to dimensionalize them on, but I thought, no, if I put dimensions onto these and dimensions to lift up the circle, it might be a little bit too much. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stick these on flat, and then they will all be raised up together. Oh gosh. So this needs to go up in the top corner. A lovely little friendly looking snail can just go down here, and then the mushroom can just hang out. There was a little piece of wood, but I didn't think he fit with my theme, so I didn't actually add him to where I wanted. So let me just go ahead and bring in my snips. I don't want this to stick out too far. And then we can attach this to the back. So the best way to do that is to actually just put the dimensionals around the circle, because then you know you've got them in the right place. And that's the layer that goes on the front. I've got so many dimensionals and so many bits of things, I don't know where I'm at. So we'll do 6. And I've still got so much of this kit left. It's like a gift that keeps on giving. It's fabulous. The amount of potential in it has just amazed me. So I might do another one, or I might just pop them sort of, here's some I made earlier on my blog as just like a photo shoot. Oh, sticking something down. Well, it's all going to be stuck down in a minute. So what we need to do then is pop the sticky on. And you know what? No, because that will stick to the card, but that's just fine. So we'll place that onto the card. So it's got that 3D look to it. And then the banner is quite white, and I thought, well, I don't really want to have such a white banner. So what I did was I took a piece of the envelope and I cut it to be the same size. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make my own. So you cut up the middle and from each corner to that point, and it gives you a banner edge. So again, I'll show you, go up the middle and from each corner to that point, and it should just give you a nice bannered edge. And then I'm going to bring in, I think I'll do Poppy Parade for this one. I'm just going to bring in the with thanks, that's the nice long greeting, out of the set. And stamp it, oops, onto the coordinating cardstock, and then just stick that down on the bottom. And then last but not least, I thought I would just add a little bit of extra bling, and I brought in the gold textured glass beads. And I know they're not bronze, but there wasn't too much sparkly on this one as it was. So I'm just going to take one of the medium size ones and put it in the middle of the flower. I don't know, that just has a spidery look to me. But anyway, there you have it. So let me get rid of all the junk out of the way. So that is the card made with the hole that was left over from the other one. So let me bring in today's stash. So there's 2 of those. Simple but effective, I think. And then the cord with a little bit of gold helps bring out the shininess. It really is shiny. Oh, there you go. Give it a little bit of bling. And then we've got the 2 lovely ZZ fold cards made out of 1 card base. So we managed to double those. And then we've got this one. And then, of course, there was all the other cards that I had made the other day. So all the directions and dimensions will be on my blog. If you've got any comments or questions, pop those in the description box below. If you've got, anything you need to know, just ask me. If you've liked what you've seen, please consider subscribing. Give me a thumbs up. I do appreciate that. Hopefully I'll be able to bring a 3rd one and not take, this just seems to have taken me, for the length of videos I normally do, it seems to have taken me an awfully long time, but there was just so much to share and I didn't want to not share it out with you. So enough talking from me. Thanks so much for watching.